Hello, and thank you for attending SAGE Alerts and Workflow video-based training. Please note that this is video-based training, and content is for training purposes only and intended for new and existing SAGE Alerts and Workflow customers.
Hi, this is Russ Lesko. Today we're going to talk about using columns, links, and tables, knowing where to get this information as you're building your query and to be able to use them to ultimately build your total event from. We are going to follow a similar pattern of looking at a query that we have or in the process of building. This is one that is orders that are over a certain amount of dollars for a certain period. The other videos we have on preparation and so forth gets into some of the other points that are on here as far as creating this overall roadmap in terms of the query that we are building. And there'll be other videos that will give you specific instructions and help on how to do that. The two here that are highlighted in blue are what we're going to focus on today. First of all, in the preparation of the query, we've already indicated the application tables within a database or somewhere that we are going to use to contain, or which contains the data we're going to use and retrieve in order to build this query that will ultimately feed our event. But take note that the name of the tables are kind of written in longhand. When we actually are going into the design of the query, these tables may appear in a different structure or a different name, abbreviated name or something of that nature. So it is important, as previously mentioned, that you have every opportunity to be able to learn a little bit more about your ERP database structure. Most ERP systems have various resources that will assist you and guide you. And we're also going to be looking at fields of the data that are going to be required by the query. These will ultimately be brought into the query and referred to as a column. And so therefore, these are fields or columns that are in the actual database table, which are these two that we just mentioned that we are going to be looking to put into our query. So we're going to look at how to do that and how it's done and how various settings are completed. So let's go right in there and do that. Let's begin by looking at our query itself that we've already begun. This is some of the basic preparation info that we have already done. But one of the first things we're going to do is over here look at the columns. Now, earlier you saw in some videos that we connect into the actual database, and that database would store the various database tables that we can use to build this particular query. We are going to use two tables. I mentioned before that order entry header table. So you can see we can use a little filter or search here to be able to find the table quickly, which we will do right now. And we just click on it. You'll see it comes over here and actually also opens up all of the columns or all of the fields that are part of that table. Now these are not part of our query yet, but they are fields that can be used in our query. We'll come back to that because we have another table to search for that we're going to use, and that was the AR salesperson table. So that one is right here, and similarly, when we add that to the query, then we'll be able to select fields from there by just clicking on it. You'll need to click on these tables to be able to see the data from the fields, or the field data or column data that comes from these two tables. Now, the other thing we decided already in that other bullet that was on that sheet I just showed is that we know what the fields are going to be that we are going to select, or columns over here. This is important because this is what the query is going to return. So once this query is active and it's searching the database on a regular basis, it is not going to return every field from these various tables unless we ask it to, but we're going to be a little bit more precise in terms of the fields that we wanted to select. You could very well have it quickly add all the fields to the bottom by just hitting on this all button, but what we are going to do is that we're going to select the individual fields from these two tables that we are going to use in the return of information from the query. So the first one is going to come from the order header table. I need to click on that to see the order header fields that are available, and we're just going to come down here and very quickly find the bill to name is going to be one table column that we're going to bring down. The other is going to be the customer number. So again, you can use your search up here, or you can kind of just scroll down if it doesn't appear to be too far away from where you were, down there. The order date will be a field that will have some significance in the overall event itself. So we'll find that one real easy and add it in. And you get kind of an idea of really what the routine is going to be here, of just taking fields that we want to have returned and adding them to this particular query. One field that's going to be very important, you'll note coming up, is going to be the total sale amount. So we'll grab that one. And then the salesperson name. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong table. I beg your pardon. I should be in the salesman table. These are two fields that we're going to be pulling from the other database table. So we're going to just come over here and look for the salesperson name. And we'll also be looking for the email address of the salesperson, because that value can also be used to guide our event. If it needs a notification, let's say, going to the salesperson, we're going to use the value in the table data that is stored for him or her, and we're going to use that email address to send out. So that's what we have selected. There's a few other things here that are important to note. Now this is the raw name of the field, as you saw over here, that was used to select it and bring it over. But don't forget these various controls here are important to always recognize, because they do limit what you see on the screen. We selected more than 5 fields, so if we get nervous that we're not seeing something, we can easily resolve it by just increasing the value there, and then you'll be able to see what you were looking for. Now these fields will also be used, since they're the return fields, as I said, in the way that you structure things like email, use various values in the body of an email, or for the address of an email, maybe a report. There's going to be a number of things that you're going to be using these fields from when we get into the event side of that. You might want to change the name of it. So that's going to allow you here to create a customized name for it. So if you don't like order number, you can choose another name that might be a little bit more recognizable, or a little bit more comfortable for you to be able to use further downstream when we are in fact using these fields to create your event from. The other thing that's going to be important is that when we trigger these events, when we use these queries as part of the trigger, these triggers are going to run in a certain frequency. That could be every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every day, whatever. It's really going to depend a lot on how you set up the actual event itself. However, if you have an order that is over a certain amount of dollars, one question might be, am I going to want to see this order every time this thing triggers, which could be 20 times a day, or do I really just want to see it once? And one of the ways to prevent you from seeing it over and over and over again would be to assign a field as a unique field. Now the system will warn you if you're saving this and it's not a unique field, hasn't been identified, and so on and so forth. But there are actually two ways in which you can prevent the same trigger from appearing over and over and over again. One will be at the event level, which you'll learn more about when we get over there. But this you can do here, at the query level as well. Now, one of the other things that is important here, now the column type, this would indicate, now we're doing a record level query, but you've heard about aggregate level queries and so on and so forth. So if you are doing counts, you're doing more aggregation as you are just records, then you would just select the appropriate type of query that you need. You may want the return to sort the return in a certain manner from a certain field, ascending or descending. You will be able to do that as well. Now, the other part of this up here is going to be your ability to be able to add a calculated column. So there are some factors you may want to, or you may have to create as a calculation as opposed to looking at individual fields. So the data you really want to use in the alert or the event might be a figure that's actually a calculated type figure. So you can add that here. You will have the ability here to essentially be able to look at the database columns and so on and so forth and indicate, some of this is used in filtering as well, but some of the editing that you may have to in order to be able to put the calculated value together, you can reach very easily from here. You can also get to it from over here. You actually see, and you'll notice throughout the alert and automation, you do have a number of different buttons. And you have an edit button here. You can also have an edit button over here, and it opens up a similar screen before for a calculated value. It just has that field in it, so you don't have to, you don't have to go through the steps of having to select that field. It's there, and then you can build, whatever calculation or whatever you need from it. Now, the other thing we haven't done, and some people might do it ahead of time, but you can also do it at the sequence I'm doing it right now, is that the one thing we haven't done is that we actually haven't created a connection between these two database tables. These are distinct tables in a database. So there's usually a field in each of those tables that would allow you to connect the two together or do what we call as linking. So when we do a link, we can do that here under linking. We just need to go and select a value. So it's going to be one database. Remember, we're working with two database tables. And then we have a table over here that is obviously the other one, which would be the salesperson table. So we know enough. We looked at the table structure itself to know that this field or column in the first table equals the same column over here in the second table. They may not be the exact same name, but they are the equals of, in a way to connect the two tables together. And then we would come over here and select the value. And in this example here, we're going to select the salesperson number. Again, I could just type that in or just fill it in. Here we go, salesperson number. And there is a table field in the other table that does in fact represent the same purpose as the salesperson number, just has a different name to it. So again, our studying of the database structure and tables will help us find this very, very easily. But I will just come over here and select that particular ID, which is right here. I will show another table, by the way, or picture that could be useful to you as well. There's always questions about, there's different ways to do joining, and that's really what the linking is referred to when you get into some of the SQL level logic. How do you join tables? What's the best way to do it? And a lot of it has to do with the tables themselves and how much data is in one and how much is in the other and those types of things. So this is a table, a picture here that I might give you some guidance on how to do that. Most often, and you'll notice it defaults to a left join, a left outer join. That usually works in most cases, but you can kind of see where it really depends a lot on where the most of the data is that that we're trying to join to the other tables. So table 1 has one field maybe that might open up and join to 20 different fields in table 2. So just a little bit of something in here that could give you some help from the standpoint of determining what is the most appropriate way to join. So we've completed the step really of now this query is fully ready. It will have filters at some point, so this will eventually be the real logic intelligence about the query. You'll learn about that in another video, but we have our links established. This would be saved, by the way. You always have to be clear that that many of these will have a save button over here. You have your columns. You know the importance of the unique column here, especially if it's something that will be triggered or tracked in a very, very often. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be lost, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. It's just not going to be triggered. However, it'll be remembered by the alert and automation tool that it was triggered, so it doesn't have to be triggered again. And actually, that's the wrong field. I really meant to do the order number field. So, but you understand the purpose of it. And the columns themselves being your database columns that your system has allowed you to access. And from there, that's kind of pretty much where these 3 steps of columns and links will begin by selecting your columns, bringing them down, converting them to a different name if you like, completing your link, and then you'll be all set to move forward. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for attending SAGE Alerts and Workflow video-based training.